So after all that build-up, in the end we got a result that suits neither party, with Liverpool and Manchester City playing out a 1-1 draw here at Anfield that hands the Premier League title initiative to Arsenal. They're the new leaders now with 10 games to go in this title race. And you have to say, in terms of which side would be most disappointed with that draw, I think it would have to be Liverpool, on the basis of the second half performance in particular here. I thought they were magnificent. I thought the first half was kind of an even game really, and City just got their nose in front with a very clever set piece. You have to take the hats off to them for coming up with that routine ahead of this big game, because that got their noses in front. And I thought it was a fairly even first half, but then the second half Liverpool came out, and clearly whatever Jurgen Klopp said to his players at the half time absolutely worked. Liverpool were completely in control of that game, and that's why I think, the chances they created as well in that second half, they'll come away feeling that they really should have won this one. I mean, so the statistics kind of underline actually how dominant they were here. They created 2.46 expected goals to Manchester City's 1.61, and of that 1.61 that City create, 0.83 of that is the John Stones goal that he basically scores on the goal line. So not a lot of XG created for Manchester City. Liverpool absolutely all over them. They take 19 shots to City's 10, create 3 big chances to City's 2, and just made City look scared at times in this. I mean, City tried multiple times to take the sting out of things, to time waste, to take the time over throw-ins and free kicks and going down easily, to try and take the sting out of this atmosphere, because it was an incredible atmosphere at Anfield as well, and it looked like it was going to be roaring Liverpool onto a victory, and a big victory in the title race. But in the end, obviously not able to get that, and Liverpool, as I say, will count themselves very unlucky not to have won this game with how dominant they were in that second half. And I also think that there's a huge penalty shout at the end, isn't there? Doku with a high boot on Alexis Mac Allister hits his chest. I know there's a high bar around VAR interventions when referees don't give penalties, but for me that's a missed decision there really. I think Liverpool should have got that penalty, and they absolutely would have deserved it really on the basis of the performance. I thought they were excellent, as I say, and we mustn't forget how many players Liverpool are missing at the moment. Ibrahima Konate obviously misses out on this game. He's just the latest to add to could arguably 5 or 6 starters really that would have been in the team today if they'd been fit. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Alisson is just to name a couple, and Liverpool were missing a lot of big name players, and still managed to produce that incredible performance against Manchester City. And I think it just shows you, it's again sort of more evidence, if it was needed really, that Jurgen Klopp is an absolute genius, isn't he? And the good news for Liverpool is that they've come away with a point in this game. They don't lose any ground on Manchester City. You still think, because Arsenal haven't got over the line in these situations before, you still see Manchester City as Liverpool's main rival in this situation, and the fact that Liverpool came from behind, as I say, with all those injuries as well, is a big thing. And you've got to factor in that Arsenal have got to go to Manchester City quite soon as well. So Liverpool will, disappointed with a point on the basis of the performance, but you'll take it absolutely in this situation, and still think that with 10 games to go, you've got a huge chance to go on and kick on and maybe try and win 10 from 10 and finally clinch that Premier League title in front of fans as well. And what a perfect way to sign off the Jurgen Klopp era that would be. Incredible performance today as well, to put a sort of a bookend the huge rivalry between Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp as well. I thought it was a fitting finish really, and just a shame Liverpool couldn't get over the line, because they absolutely would have deserved it. Now, going to get into the individual performances here, and I'll start with the goalkeeper, Kevin Kelleher. I thought he's kind of unlucky actually around the goal. I mean, everybody gets caught out in this situation, and he does almost get across. He gets something on it, and it just bundles in under his arm. So very unfortunate in that. And I thought Liverpool really needed to trust him in possession today. City tried to put pressure on as much as they could, but they weren't able to, because I thought Kelleher was so safe with his feet. I mean, he only ends up with a 75% passing accuracy, but a lot of that is because some of his balls, he was going long. He was trying to, Liverpool were trying to win flick-ons. He was trying to go direct at times, so he was clearly asked to do that. But he played some absolutely brilliant passes that really killed City's pressure when they were trying to press really high. And I just think he's been phenomenal, hasn't he, since he's come into the team. And today, not a lot to do goalkeeping wise in terms of his goal wasn't getting peppered at all, so he didn't have to make a lot of saves, but I thought everything he did with real class, and what an incredible backup to Alisson Becker Liverpool has got. I thought it's absolutely remarkable that he's come in and done the job he's done. Now moving to defence now, and start with Conor Bradley at right back. Again, it shows how highly rated he is that he's thrown into this situation today. Joe Gomez out at left back, Conor Bradley gets the nod at right back, because you can't keep him out of the team at the moment with the way he's playing. And I think the statistics bear out that he did really well today. 4 out of 4 tackles won, 6 out of 9 ground duels. He's so busy defensively. I think if you were one area you might want to criticise. He has an opportunity in the first half when he breaks into the box and tries to cut it back where he maybe would have been better shooting, but I mean, we really are picking holes in the performance of a 20-year-old who's just been phenomenal since he's come into the first team, and again, great today. You know, doesn't complete the game. I think there's still, fitness-wise, he's not maybe up there in terms of the level of many of the other sort of senior pros around him, and he is a kid, let's not forget that, but it wasn't taken off because of the level of his performance. That's absolutely not, because again, another excellent performance from him, I thought. Now, alongside him, another kid who again thrown into a ridiculous situation, really, a huge title race game against arguably the best side in the world in Manchester City, and Jarell Quansah just absolutely cruises through it. I mean, it's always helpful to have Van Dijk next to you, isn't it? But what a player Jarell Quansah is. I don't think anybody could have expected this. Even when he had a really good pre-season camp, I don't think Liverpool would have said that he'd be starting games like this late in the season, injuries or not. The fact, it would have been easy, wouldn't it, for Klopp to maybe throw Gomez in there and use Robertson at left back, or Tsimikas if Robertson wasn't fit enough to start. He could have done all those things, but what he does is he trusts Jarell Quansah, who's 21 years old and not got many Premier League games behind him, to absolutely shackle Erling Haaland, and that is what he did. I thought he was brilliant. 11 recoveries, 89% passing accuracy as well, and he saw a lot of the ball because City were trying to funnel things through him. They know how good Van Dijk is on the ball. They know, if they couldn't press Kelleher as well, that Quansah was seeing a lot of the ball, and it was, it could be dangerous at times, but he didn't look phased at all. He was very, very calm in possession, sometimes maybe too calm. Maybe he did nick in a couple of times, but I thought it was just such an old-headed performance from a young player. And you don't even talk about the fact that he's an academy player anymore. Such is the level of his performances. We really shouldn't forget that he's come up from the academy today and puts in performances like that when you've got injuries. Just an absolutely incredible effort. What a find Liverpool have got on their hands there. Now, of course, I've mentioned there that he's helped by the fact that the man alongside him is pretty incredible as well, and I thought Virgil van Dijk was, that performance was as good as anything he's put in for Liverpool today. Completely snuffed Erling Haaland out of the game. There's a few moments where they had one-on-one duels. I know it's all about defending as a team, but there were a lot of moments where they went head-to-head, and Virgil van Dijk seemed to come out on top of all of them. Physical battles, winning aerial duels against him, nipping in front to nick the ball, and then using the ball really well. I mean, he ends up with a 97% passing accuracy, wins 3 out of 4 tackles, 4 out of 7 ground duels, and just the 1 aerial duel, because actually City don't go long very often, do they? Try and keep it on the deck, and actually 2 last man tackles as well, crucial interceptions where City might have got in. And well, for me, he's the best defender in the world, and I think he is absolutely back to that level. No doubt to me that Liverpool should be handing him a new contract as well when that comes up to its final year this summer, but that's for another time. Marvellous performance from him. And I'll just finish up the defence now with Joe Gomez. I thought Liverpool had maybe a slow first 10 minutes where City looked kind of quite controlled and looked decent. A couple of lapses from Gomez in that moment, and he does occasionally have that in him, but I thought from that moment on, absolutely brilliant performance again. I thought all the defence did well. I thought all the team did well, to be honest. 3 out of 3 tackles, won 4 out of 8 ground duels, and what was notable as well is that his teammates really trust him to take possession in difficult situations, and he didn't make errors in those areas. He was really, really calm with the ball at his feet, and a big part of helping Liverpool pass through the City press. He was really, really, bravery comes in different forms in football, and I thought he showed a lot of that in possession today, as well as some really good tackles and moments where he comes in to nick the ball and did really well. So I thought a very, very solid performance from Gomez, and he does that thing again where he switches from left to right back. He's so versatile, very important player for Liverpool this season. Now I move into the midfield now, and I thought this is the area where Liverpool were at their best today. Absolutely dominant in the centre of the park, which again, City are so good in that area, aren't they? They can play you around you and make it really difficult, always nicking balls as well. And I thought Liverpool absolutely dominated them in the centre of the park, and Endo, huge part of that. Brilliant performance. I thought 96% passing accuracy, wins 3 out of 4 ground duels, 2 out of 2 aerial duels, and 8 defensive actions he ends up clocking up as well. So just an all action performance, and I thought this is one of the few times I've seen Rodri not look particularly fantastic for City, and he's usually phenomenal, isn't he? I think he's the best defensive midfielder in the world, and yet Endo made him look like a bit of a slouch today. Such was the level of his performance. And again, I think, again, at the start of the season, would anyone have said that Endo would come in and play this big a role and make himself, completely undraftable, really? He's in Liverpool's best team at the moment in that holding role. What a signing. Jurgen Klopp was absolutely right about him. He's been magnificent since he's come in, and again, stepping up to this level and showing again that he's absolutely worthy of it. He was, phenomenal again today, and what a signing. And Speaking of what a signing, I want to talk about Alexis Mac Allister again. I mean, feel like I've given man of the match in a lot of these recent videos, and he absolutely wins it again for me today. Just incredible performance from him. 8 out of 13 ground duels won, 11 recoveries. It's just unbelievable. He's everywhere in the defensive side of things, trying to nick the ball in higher positions. Now he's in that advanced role, constantly playing Liverpool out of pressure as well. He's so good in possession, never seems to get caught, always has awareness of what's around him, and I thought he was absolutely marvellous in that today. Really allowed Liverpool to break out of pressure, and then he played the pass that would put them somewhere in the number 10 position, and then they were out and they were at City's defence. And the amount of times Alexis Mac Allister seemed to do that, I just think he's absolutely showing now that he's a world-class footballer. And again, you go back to the fact that Liverpool paid 35 million for him. It's a bit of a joke, really, hasn't it? And I haven't even mentioned the fact that he scores the penalty, and he actually should have won another one late on. He's the one who gets kicked by Doku with that high foot, so should have won a penalty. Scores his one in a really high pressure moment that set Liverpool up to dominate the second half. What a footballer, and Liverpool so lucky to have him. Now, just round off the midfield by talking about Szoboszlai, and I think don't want to be too unfair on him today, because I think he's not started a lot of games recently. He's had that lengthy injury layoff, and he did just seem a little bit off the pace today. Didn't really seem to happen for him. I mean, he only contests 2 ground duels, so just not really involved, and a lot of the good work was happening alongside him with Alexis Mac Allister and Endo. But I think he needs to get his fitness back, doesn't he? He only ends with a 69% passing accuracy as well, so not really effective on the other side of the ball in terms of Liverpool going forward as well. And he wastes a really good opportunity at one point with a hacked shot where he 9 times out of 10 you would expect he would do better there. But again, don't want to be too critical, because he's working back to fitness, isn't he? Needs to get there, so I'm sure that will come, and he's got a big role to play going forward. Now, moving to the attack now, and talk about Harvey Elliott. And again, I want to praise him for another, he's got through a lot of work recently, hasn't he? And again, has to come in and start this game in place with Salah not available to start, and I thought he did a really good job. He was popping into midfield areas a lot when he was out wide in that attacking position, and then moved back into midfield later in the game, and I thought he was pretty flawless, really, in terms of he looked really creative, looked dangerous, putting some really dangerous balls from that right hand side, never seemed to really waste possession. I mean, he only wins 1 out of 4 ground duels, which I don't think really shows the actual reality of his performance. He always seemed to be in and around helping Liverpool nick it. He was always really busy, never allowing City time on the ball. So even though he doesn't win a lot of ground duels, he was always making them kind of scuff the pass or rush it, and eventually Liverpool would win the ball from there. So an absolutely tireless performance, which is what we were coming used to with him, and real moments of quality and possession as well. So I mean, again, shouldn't forget how young he is, and I think he's a massive part of this Liverpool squad, isn't he? And the work he's put in over this last 6 games or so, he's been crucial to Liverpool winning as many of those, and getting what is hopefully a decent point here today. So phenomenal shift from Harvey Elliott, which we're becoming used to now. Darwin Núñez starts in that centre forward role, and actually kind of a quieter one for him. I mean, one thing I would be critical of, maybe caught offside too many times. That City were really catching him offside constantly, and that is one thing he really needs to iron out of his game. But he takes 2 shots and looks quite dangerous. And one thing I actually really liked about his performance, he wins 5 out of 7 aerial duels. Now, Liverpool were going long early a lot to bypass City's press, and he won a lot of those aerial duels, and that's something that I think sometimes he can get bullied by centre-backs. Absolutely wasn't happening today, and I thought he did really well in that side of things. And he wins the pen, of course, with, again, he's putting pressure on the keeper, he's making sure he gets there, and absolutely nailed on penny, and he gets in front. Great closing down, he's full of energy, we know that, and I actually think it was kind of a weird sub to bring him off. As I say, I don't think he had his absolute best game, only 2 shots, which is kind of low for him. But I thought in that last period when City were getting a little bit desperate and Liverpool were on top, it would have been nice to have Núñez's pace and threat there, and I think they kind of missed him when he went off. Maybe there's a big consideration there in terms of fitness with him having had an injury recently. They want to protect him, but I think that maybe Liverpool could have gone on and won that game if Núñez had stayed on the pitch. So I guess we'll never know. But I thought a decent performance in some elements, and he really probably would have wreaked havoc in those last moments, particularly with Salah on the pitch, who he has a really good relationship with. So I would have liked to see how that one would have played out. Now, I'll just finish up the starting 11 with Luis Diaz, and I think he's getting a bit of criticism on social media for missing a few chances, and we know, don't we, that he's not the deadliest finisher in Liverpool's squad, to be fair, and you know, there were some opportunities he probably should have done a lot better with, and we'll look back on them. But I still think, you know, he's a big part of Liverpool being dominant. You know, he's so industrious. He you know, gets the ball up the pitch. That dribble will live long in the memory, won't it? Where the one where he's basically got Rodri hanging off the back of him, and he still managed to get through, and Kyle Walker, and he somehow comes away with the ball, gets Liverpool basically 60 yards up the pitch, and then wins a corner from it. And I think he did a lot of that all day. Is you know, carrying the ball, always showing for it. He wins 6 out of 14 ground duels. 14 ground duels is ridiculous that he's involved in that many. That shows how busy he is, and he's never probably going to be the most natural finisher. He's never going to be Mo Salah, but I think, you know, the fact he's so busy adds real balance to the Liverpool side, and he's a really, really important player. 8 recoveries as well, 3 chances created. So no absolute, you know, he wasn't an absolute slouch in terms of his creative side of things either. So, you know, some decent numbers from him, and I absolutely love seeing him on the team sheet, because I think, as I say, he adds that balance, and he's one of those players who just absolutely works his socks off every time he pulls a shirt on, and that's something fans love. And, you know, I thought overall, even though he misses those chances, I thought a decent performance from Diaz today. Now, just go through the subs and talk about those. You know, Mo Salah, I thought sometimes his you know, choice of pass didn't look that great, and, you know, maybe a little bit of rustiness we saw from him. He still takes 3 shots and adds real threat to Liverpool at the end there. And I think, you know, City must have been dreading it when they saw him come on the pitch, and, you know, he really just, it gets him defenders' minds, doesn't he, and create space for others. And as I say, 3 shots is not a bad tally for the time he had on the pitch. So great to see him back, and hopefully he can, you know, now he's got his injury behind him, hopefully he can stay fit between now and the end of the season, because he's going to be massive. Cody Gakpo has a huge opportunity where he really should score towards the end, where, you know, the ball breaks him in the box and he just hesitates and then tries to pass it and pass on the responsibility, where he should have just pulled the trigger. But again, I think his substitution was to protect Núñez more than anything else. So again, don't want to be too critical of that. And I want to talk about Andy Robertson, who I thought, you know, added real balance to Liverpool. You know, moving Gomez over to the right really helped Liverpool create more threat down this left hand side. You know, having a left footer there is always massively helpful, and he brought a real balance and energy to Liverpool, which we're used to in his performances. And he creates 3 chances as well, so he was a real threat. And I thought his set piece delivery was, you know, he took a few corners when he came on, was, you know, really good side, really helpful for Liverpool to be threatening towards the end of the game. So decent performance. So I'm going to wrap it up there anyway. That was my review of the game. Let me know in the comments what you think of that. Is that a good point for Liverpool, or are you disappointed? Where do you think the onus is in the Premier League title race now? Who do you make the favourites to win it from here? Is it Liverpool? Do let me know what you think in the comments. And as ever, I'm going to ask if you can drop me a like and a subscribe. That's always helpful in terms of growing the channel. And with all the games coming thick and fast, I'll see you very, very soon.